Hey, what's up people? Today's video is about the Spyderco Native Chief Lightweight and the steel that it uses, CTS BD1N. I want to talk about the design of the Native Chief a little bit in the beginning and then jump right into the steel testing that I did. I kind of did a simulated EDC test, if you will, with both the factory edge and also my own cutting edge, and kind of want to compare those two. Speaking about the Native Chief design, it's basically a native, more stretched out with a much stronger taper, I would say. It has a pretty thin tip, as you can see. It tapers quite aggressively, comes to a very fine acute point. Definitely a point on the thinner side that you need to be a little bit more careful. But I actually kind of stress tested the blade a little bit by twist cutting zip ties. You will see that in a second. And this steel, at least the BD1N, kind of prefers bending over breaking, so it's still relatively stable even though it's very fine and pointy. Now the best thing about the Native Chief Lightweight is that it is in fact very, very lightweight. If you compare it, for instance, to a Spyderco Enduro, which is a smaller knife in general and per blade and cutting edge length, this even weighs less. So the Native Chief Lightweight has 86 grams, which is 3.1 ounces. So that's 10 grams less than the Enduro, which is pretty insane. And I think they achieved this probably because they have no steel liners on the inside here. So this and the Stretch XL both don't feature liners anymore. You just have the plastic scales. You don't really need the liners for strength. You have the backlock, which is a secure system. And yeah, by taking out the liners, you remove a lot of the weight. It doesn't have a backspacer also on the construction, which is kind of not my favorite way of constructing a knife. It's basically two scales that puzzle box together, and yeah. I like though that they use the T8 on the body screws and the T10 on the pivot. I like that combination much more than the T6 and T8 combination. I think it's just longer lasting in terms of the screws. It also uses less screws than the Enduro, for instance. And not that I take my knives apart a lot, but it is a nice feature for the people that do. So you can get an idea. This is the Spyderco Military straight out of my pocket. I carried this one also quite a bit lately. And maybe I have a PM2 for a size comparison. Nope. Let's get those in frame. So that's also a very common knife. The blade length is 4.1 inches or 10 centimeters, 10.5 centimeters. So pretty long blade for the low weight of 86 grams. Bidirectional texturing on the scales, obviously I like that quite a bit. Scale color varies from steel to steel. And it came with this shiny Spyderco clip, which I swapped out for the DLC coated Spyderco clip from my PM2 originally, and I do like that quite a bit more because it's, you know, less noticeable in pocket. I do like that it has a smaller profile than most Spydercos that have the hump on the Spidey hole. Are usually a little bit wider, so it is a little bit of a slimmer package. It's the same width as a PM2, so carries pretty well, carries pretty lightweight. In fact, I think it even carries even lighter than you would think it is. It almost feels a little bit too light. Weight often is associated with higher quality, but the quality on this knife is really high. Everything functions really perfectly. It's well centered, locks up fine. There is almost no blade play, maybe ever so slightly. Let's see if that... I think if you close it and open it again, it goes away. Yeah, it's pretty solid, side to side and up and down. This is a pretty long-lasting, strong, and very tight design. It maybe isn't as smooth as some of the other Spydercos. I'm not sure if that has to do with the hump or because my other Spydercos are older. Maybe this needs to wear in more, but I think with the hump and the hole works a little bit better for opening than the way they did it here, but it still works fine. It's just a little bit tighter and yeah, less smooth, I guess. The blade design is basically Risolza Patata Des, which is a patata knife, maybe you know that. That's an Italian traditional knife that has the belly in the back and then a straight portion in the front here. And if you compare those cutting edge to cutting edge, they basically have an identical cutting edge here. So this is basically an Italian traditional cutting edge fitted into a modern folding knife, and that's pretty cool, I would say. That Spyderco does designs like these. So you have a more rounded edge here in the back and a more straight edge in the front, and what that does is that you can get your index finger up here and do very straight and precise cuts into something. I will show you that in a second, I guess. But yeah, that's it about the design. Let's actually jump into the use footage that I have of this knife, and yeah, and kind of talk you through that. Well, part of this blade design with the tapering point is that you can either start your slice here and then finish with the tip, or you can just use the thinner section of the blade. And that point is really precise. So if you need to do a lot of, this kind of precision work with the tip, this blade is really good because it has that fine, precise point that goes right where you want it to be. Despite being far away from the handle, you have good control from the handle to the tip. So yeah, I started to use the factory edge on very thick abrasive cardboard and kind of put it over fine ceramic and then on leather to see how easy it would be to restore the hair popping sharpness on that CTS BD1N. And that went really, really quickly. Only a couple of strokes on a fine ceramic and then on leather to restore the hair popping sharp edge. So this footage is all with the factory edge, and then I guess a couple of strokes on the fine ceramic and leather. Now, despite having a very thin point, the thickness behind the edge out of box, on my particular model at least, is about 0.5 millimeters behind the edge. Let's check the front section because that's a lot thinner. No, same thickness behind the edge. Both in the front section and in the back, 0.5 millimeters behind the edge. Pretty thick, not unusually thick for a production knife. That's pretty common. I would like to see it a lot thinner though, because that blade has such a nice thin taper. Alright, let's do some twist cuts on these zip ties right here. Obviously with a thin tip like this, that's so precise, you could easily get in there and reopen the zip tie with the tip by pushing on that little tab that's on the inside here. But we're not gonna do that because that's not as hard on our edge as doing this would be. So I'm getting in here and now I'm twist cutting. These are a lot thicker, a lot tougher to cut than the previous ones. So maybe we see more damage on the edge now. I'm almost scared that I'm breaking the tip off doing this, but yeah, well, I have to go deeper in there. Let's go. The knife is flexing pretty hard on the blade. I guess that's a good thing in terms of toughness. I wanted to do more of the abrasive stuff, so I cut the zip ties that I just twisted apart with the cutting edge as well, just to see how quickly we lose our edge retention. This thing is pretty shitty to cut. It's like a pipe, polymer pipe, pretty tough on the cutting edge. Okay, that was relatively easy. Most of my knives have much more trouble going through that, but we also use the thin section. Let's try the thick section back here. Pretty good. Pretty good. Twist cutting wood is also a good test to test the stability on the cutting edge, the side-to-side stability. The handle feels pretty uncomfortable doing this, so it's only uncomfortable in the choked up position though. In this position, it's very nice. All right. Yeah. So after all our testing, our knife isn't able to cleanly slice through the tomatoes that I have here, but it still manages to do some of the slicing. It's just not very clean. So I went ahead and kind of stropped it on leather really quick and on a fine ceramic, and I kind of was able to restore that field sharpness. It was just not a perfect sharp knife. Then I went ahead and completely resharpened the knife on a coarse DMT diamond on an Anevar diamond stone, whetstone, and then on a fine Spyderco ceramic. And then I repeated the entire test with the exact same cardboard, both the thick and the thin cardboard. I twist cutted the exact same zip ties that I twist cutted before to see whether our stability of the cutting edge changed. I also twist cutted the thicker zip ties down to the exact same number that I did it with the factory edge. I even fished out the extremely gross water bottle from the trash to get the exact same number of cuts that I did on the first testing. As you can see, the knife still slices through paper, and surprisingly, with my own cutting edge, it still had a very fine cutting edge, still fine enough to cut some of the vegetables. As you can see, this time the slices through the tomatoes are perfect. So yeah, with my own cutting edge, I kind of had a much better experience in the end. The edge retention was definitely superior, and the edge toughness on both of the tests though was pretty good, I would say. During the making of this video, I met a couple of very interesting little animals, like this gecko for instance, who just hung out with us for a while. Pretty cool animal. Also saw this guy right here. And I didn't feed the gecko to this bird, so don't be afraid, I didn't do that. But yeah, he kind of picks up some trash. I guess he wanted to use it for his nest. Also did a bit of gardening work with this knife, so whenever I had to cut a root, I would just straight dig into the earth, and yeah, disregarding that it could damage our blade, and it actually didn't. The knife held up really fine doing those harder cuts through roots in the dirt. Obviously, if you hit the rock, you hit the rock. That's gonna cause a chip on any blade steel, but in this case it held up really fine for those sort of jobs. Alright, the conclusion of the Spyderco Native Chief Lightweight. Is it a good knife? I think it's a good knife. It's well made. I like the steel. Some people really don't like CTS BD1N. They think it's a cheap steel. I think it's a good mid-range steel. So if you're not paying budget, if you're not paying premium, if you're somewhere in the middle, which this knife is priced somewhere in the middle. I think it cost a little bit over $100 when I bought mine. I bought mine pretty early. Actually have it since 7 months, and have used it the last couple of months pretty extensively, I would say. I think the steel is really good in that mid-range section. It's kind of a do-everything steel. It has a really good toughness for a stainless steel, at least. Side-to-side toughness is pretty good. It's pretty rare that you actually get chips on CTS BD1N. It's also good in impact toughness, actually. I haven't done any impact toughness tests in this video, but I have done some in the past that I will upload in the future, though. Kind of confusing, but yeah, you will get it. And the impact toughness is also pretty good on CTS BD1N. So toughness pretty good. Edge retention very decent once you get your own cutting edge on there. Diamond stones and ceramic combination worked for me pretty well. The good thing about this is it doesn't really take a lot of time to get your cutting edge back to life. So once it's a little bit dull, you can put it on a leather strop or on a fine ceramic if that doesn't work, and you will pop that edge back very quickly. And that's a great thing. I think it's for the edge retention it has, that it sharpens back that easily. That's pretty good. Yeah, stainlessness, it's a pretty stainless steel so far. I've never had any rust issues or anything. I think it also has a lot of chromium solution, so it should be fine. Yeah, good steel, good all-rounder steel. Has a little bit of everything. It may not sharpen the best from all the steels that are on the market, but it sharpens quickly and sharpens easily. It's a very user-friendly steel, I would say. So most people should be very fine with this. I don't see why people are so picky with steels all the time, but I think this is a very good steel in every domain: edge retention, toughness, and stainlessness. So yeah, pretty good steel. Good knife. Is it my favorite Spyderco in that larger size range? Maybe not. I do have some Spydercos that I have for a really long time and that I do like quite a bit. I do like the military maybe, or not maybe, but for instance much more than the Native Chief. I do maybe also like the Endura a little bit more in that size range, and the Police. And so it's kind of, but those knives I have for a long time. It's kind of tough for the Native Chief to take their place, because you know, if you have used knives for a long time, you kind of don't want to replace them. And yeah, but it is a good knife. I think the best thing about this is that it weighs very little for the size of the blade that you have. It's kind of like a folding kitchen knife in a sense, and it does that precise cutting really, really well. Even though it's not the thinnest behind the edge, it actually slices really well. I do like the Native Chief. I can recommend it in whatever steel you are getting it. It is a good knife. Cannot say anything really bad about this. Like I said, it's not my favorite Spyderco, it's not my favorite large Spyderco model, but it is a really good Spyderco. Yeah. So that's it about the Spyderco Native Chief. Thank you guys for watching, and maybe see each other in another video. Goodbye, people.